Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Rasile, and this is the show where we get to talk about sports, we get to talk about business, and we get to talk about everything in between. However, you're listening, whatever platform you're on, you know what to do. 5-star review, rate and subscribe, review, like on YouTube, the whole nine. So you guys know what to do, and I appreciate each and every one of you for that. Most importantly, today, my guest, Daniel Pardo, he's the founder of DPC Labs. Daniel, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having
Great,
me on.
dude. Pleasure is all mine. It's a great day to be alive. We're here to learn. We're here to have some fun. I get to talk about NFTs, the blockchain, Web 3.0, and how this kind of incorporates with athletes, what they're up to. I mean, we see so many athletes now with like their bored apes, right, as their profile pictures in places. So excited to ask you about that. But Daniel, the question I have for everybody on the For the Love of Sports podcast is, why do you love sports so much?
For me, my love of sports came from I mean, when I was like four. Had the little basketball hoop in my house. Just sort of started there. Then it was the golf, the mini golf set, the soccer balls. It was really everything. My parents sort of started from an early age to say, "Hey, let's put you into the youth sports and see what sport you like." I played everything from flag football, t-ball, um, to soccer, basketball, everything. And it was just sort of then immediately just my love for sports came. It was attending basketball games my entire life, whether it be Duke games, Hurricane games,
Let's go, Duke.
Heat games. My dad, brother, sister, all Dukies. Let's go State though, Michigan State, go Green. And so my love for sports was just from the start, kind of built into who I am. And so yeah, I mean, in high school, I played football. I worked for the basketball team. I worked for the entire high school athletic department. I sort of put myself in the middle of sports until I got to college. I learned I learned I did not want to become a manager of a college basketball team. I didn't want to be up, at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning because someone's calling to get shots up at the gym. Just didn't what I want to do. So just continued the love for sports in terms of watching it, like probably all of us. I mean, I don't know how many nights are just kind of spent with my college buddies, just like every playoff game, for basketball, football, just everything. You can ask my wife if she's somewhere here, and she'll be like, "What's up?" Or is can we watch something tonight? And especially right now, I'm like, the NBA playoffs
Playoffs.
are on. Like
Sorry,
the NBA,
mate.
I'm like it's the best time of the year for basketball right now. Like the NBA playoffs are on, other than March Madness. But like, and there's a game on every night because it's the first round. So my love started early. Was I have a little brother. We play in the just literally all the time. In basketball in the front, football in the middle of the house, tackling each other into couches, into walls. I mean, that's just kind of what we grew up doing with sports.
That's the way it was, man. My brother and myself as well. My wife and myself as well. We have two TVs in my living room, and you can check it. Both are set to sports if sports are on, right? That's why we have the the Fire Stick, the Xbox on the one, so we can pull up whatever's on ESPN, be that basketball, hockey. Then we have the Mets game on the top TV, whatever it is. That's the whole point, man. I want to watch everything because that's the only thing I care about. Don't tell my wife
Yeah,
that. But yeah, I mean, New York Mets baseball. That's my one and only. They're always bad to me, but I always come crawling back. So I guess more importantly, right? Like there's so many people that have that story, right? In college, we set up one time we had 4 TVs. That's when we went
oh
like
my
just
god,
absolutely nuts, and it was incredible. And we did it on one of those sports equinoxes, so we had basketball, football, baseball, and hockey on every single
yeah,
TV. And we're like 20 years old. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And now at 30, I'm like, honestly, that is the coolest thing ever. Like I'm still 100% down with that. I guess I'm kind of curious though, when as you realize maybe you didn't want to work in collegiate athletics, which don't blame you for that one. When did you realize that, hey, like I still want to be around it, right? Watching it is great, and anyone can watch sports. You and I can watch sports, and I don't have to work in it. But why did you decide to break in and say, you know what, actually, I love this area so much. I want to spend my time, dedicate my time, and make money doing this.
yeah. So I went to law school. I graduated University of Miami Law last May, and I always knew some way or another I wanted to find go Canes. I always knew I wanted to find sports somehow, whether it be um, through agency, things like that. But a lot of agents were just real with me early on that said, do you want to, you know, be at the airport at 2 in the morning because they're calling you because they're coming back from their private plane and they need you to pick them up. And there were just certain aspects of an agent's lifestyle that I didn't want. So I decided, hey, I'll take a back seat. I'll go into construction, litigation, real estate law, and work for my dad and do that. And then Web3 came around. Web3
When
crypto.
was that? When did, because I saw it start popping up on the internet, but like when did it actually, like what is Web3 and when did it come around? Let's answer those two questions.
So Web3 has been around. I mean, the creation of Web3, they say, has been the last really 4 years in terms of what's happening on the internet and the backside.
Okay.
But blockchain's been around for 14, 15. We're talking about Bitcoin, but then you had Ethereum, which is one of the other cryptocurrencies that was created, which is then what adapted us to be able to have, those so-called NFTs. They're built on different blockchains themselves, whether it be Ethereum, Solana, Flow. There's kind of multiple, and now there's Near and Harmony. Every
Hmm.
single day we're finding a new protocol or coin coming up. But for me, it wasn't about what's happening in the coin coming up. It was about what I'm seeing happening in the sports world. And the first of was Top Shot, and Top Shot's awesome. What Dapper has done is special. I mean, to create what they've done is really awesome for the sports fan. But I started speaking with a few athletes that friends of mine know, and we started just finding out what does it do for them as the athlete. And if they weren't the top tier NBA player, it didn't really do much for them. There's no fan engagement involved, and then there's no also digital asset for them to own, other than if they went and bought their own highlight. And then that's a saturated market because the NBA is pumping out more and more and more. There's no control from the athlete to say, hey, I want to sell, 25, 50 exclusive access to a small community of mine. And there was no platform to go do that. So what started to come up was you started to see Autograph, which is Tom Brady's company. You started to see Candy Digital, which was Gary Vee's company. And then now you see Des Bryant with Personal Corner and Recur. Um, and I guess you have Campus Legend as well, which is Tim Tebow's company. But again, what we started seeing with a lot of those companies was brand plays, was paying the universities, and in Recur's case, paying the Pac-12 for access to the highlights. Great, awesome business model, really unique. But how does that provide anything in our mind for the everyday athlete, the water polo player, the golfer, the end of the bench basketball player, or even the starting point guard that has maybe 5,000 followers, not 50,000? No one was helping those athletes enter into Web3. There was no website, there's no platform, in Web3 that was saying, hey, we'll help you, give you that education and entrance into what an NFT is, why it's useful, why the IP behind their name is so important, and why, Web3 really provides that booster and bolster to their name to use that IP. And so for me, it was seeing all of that happening. And you said, why did I want to get back into sports? That's why. It was I saw no one helping everyone. And I wanted to say, okay, how is there a way for us to help everyone, to find a way to help all athletes of all sports, of all ages, men and women. And so, of all ages. Uh, the unique thing there, and that's sort of where I think what I was talking to you earlier about, how do you differentiate why NFTs? For
Let's
us,
stop there for a
it's
second.
yeah,
I do want to stop there for a second. So I think it's really interesting the way that you're looking at the space though, right? Like because there is a huge number of athletes now with NIL being an opportunity, especially in the college space, that number jumps significantly, right? There was still the 26th man on the MLB bench or the 15th guy on the NBA bench that doesn't get in the game. But now you have all of these potential college athletes where they already have these huge social media followings. Like, look at those girls, the what is it, the UCLA cheerleaders? Like, they just have like the most viral stunts over and over again. They're more famous than like again the 15th man on an NBA bench, but they weren't allowed to use their name to make money, and now they are, which is awesome. And now they have other opportunities within Web3 and what you're saying. So let's you got something? Sorry.
even to that, and it's that every athlete has a micro community of fans, even if it's 25, 50 people. That could be their family, it could be their close friends from high
Yep.
school. That's all people to help them monetize. So for us, it was providing them a space in the Web3 world to say, hey, you can do this. We'll give you the platform to help you, assist you to sell, your card.
That's awesome. I think it's such a cool thing. So yeah, before we get to what you guys are doing, like getting into the specifics, obviously we
Yeah,
went
yeah,
around
yeah.
generalities with that. Explain to me why NFTs aren't bullshit. Because I feel like, and we said this before we hopped on. There's two camps. There's people that understand it and can give you a good like an explanation, which is what you are gonna do. And then there's other people, not quite myself. I understand a little bit more than the next guy. But like Top Shot, to me, why am I spending $1 million on a LeBron James gift? Like, I just maybe it's a personal thing. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't care about art. Maybe that's half of it. But like, why aren't they bullshit? Explain it to us. Dumbest possible terms. Give it to me.
Yeah, so I'll be completely honest. I'm with you on the camp of I don't know why I would go spend $1 million on a LeBron James highlight because the use case of what that value is long term, I don't know. Who's going to pay me for the rights to that highlight
Exactly.
when they still have to go pay the NBA? They still have to, you know, they still there's 19 not thousand other people that also own that same highlight. I agree with you on that. I don't know there. Where I do think it's important and not bullshit is the Bored Ape side. It's the IP. You know, where do we see this going long term? Movies will be utilizing Bored Ape Yacht Club characters. And in order for these movies to be able to utilize the characters, they will have to pay the person who owns the rights to that picture. So where I see NFTs being important is the IP behind them. And where is that for important for sports? Providing an IP to the athlete. It's not to the company. So working with an athlete, starting when they are freshmen in, even eighth graders, sixth graders, they could be 5 years old, starting with kids, teaching them about the entrance and importance of Web3 and NFTs because of the IP behind it, owning their own IPs instead of going and buying a photo of themselves that their parents normally do anyways. They can buy a digital player card of themselves. And what does that do? That has intrinsic value of their own. They own that IP. If their photo is posted anywhere, that's IP that they own. If it's utilized on an Instagram page, that's IP that they own, which is beyond just the way it happens now, where people can take your Instagram photo and boom, because of the way the IP and traceability of the contracts works. Someone owns that. So why is that important to a youth athlete? If someone buys a card for when they're 5 years old, and then every year till through their 18, they own that card, them and their family, however many they want to buy. If they become a star athlete, executive of a company long term, they own those cards and have outright intrinsic value. If they want to own them as a souvenir just to hold on to, great. But if they also want to sell that because they have their son's state championship freshman year card and sophomore year, number one player in the country sophomore year
Mhm.
card, there's value to that IP and it's owning it early. It's not getting to college, having another company come and say, hey, we'll pay you $10,000 for your name, image, and likeness to sell this for you. That's not what it's about. It's about teaching these kids at an early age why their IP, why their name, image, and likeness is so important, and doing that through a digital player card. Yes, it's an NFT, but there's a reason our name is DPC because we don't want to scare everyone. Yes, it's an NFT, but we want people to feel welcome into the community of NFTs, and through doing it through a digital player card of themselves, we think is a unique and special way to do that.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
wish
super.
I wish I could send you one. You could sort of pull it up and see what it
Uh,
looks like.
yeah, shoot one over. But I might be able to figure that out. It's not the craziest thing in the world. I've been on the internet for a few years now. So I think one thing that's really interesting about it is you're 100% right. It's the IP aspect because like yeah, how many fake accounts are there on Instagram, right? Like there's that whole aspect, like whole thing of it. So now if there is something that you can tangibly own, right? Maybe you're not able to touch it, but you own the IP. It's on, a ledger somewhere that says you, Daniel, you own this. This is yours. There is some value. There's absolute value to that. And then as you said, like what if this person does go, right? We see what rookie cards used to sell for or are still selling for. Like what is a eighth grade championship card going to sell for? It's just silly things like that. And obviously that is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? If anyone does get there, but it is still something that is tangible that people can buy and people can utilize and they can see how it works and something that can be done with it.
And on the separate side of it, I mean, I remember growing up for me, my parents literally purchase physical cards of myself when I
Me
played
too.
like football, basketball. I have no idea where they are today.
Yep.
My brother still has this. I have no idea. And I just thought, well, when we were coming up with the concept of let's create digital player cards to help athletes monetize, I said, why does it have to just be to monetize? Why can't we, bring people into the space, adopt people into the space through this idea of owning their own card, similar to an athlete? I mean, if I knew that Topps could create me a card of myself similar to what LeBron James has, there's a no-brainer. I'd convince my parents to buy that. And so what we did here is we combined our idea of let's help the everyday athlete that can monetize, and combine them with the everyday athlete that is just an amateur athlete for themselves, and help them feel like a star. And so that was sort of why we combined and paired the both together.
So I have a couple other questions about NFTs that I just need like cleared up because again, I'm not an expert and I don't ever plan on being an expert, and that's why I talk to incredible people like you, Daniel. So that's why you
I
are here.
appreciate that.
Minting. I see that word come up on the internet. What does that mean and how does it work?
So what minting is, and there's sort of a kind of big misconception on this, is everyone thinks, oh, if I buy an NFT, I minted the NFT. It's not the case. The minting is the first purchase of the NFT. So if you are the first purchaser of that NFT, you are considered to have minted the NFT. The second that first sale occurs, it's no longer being minted. It is now just being bought and sold on the secondary market. So the word minted is simply just the first sale of something. And that's where the contract is actually being pulled from, that back developer network into the main network, and creating it as an actual non-fungible token asset. So that first creation of it is what they call the mint process.
Okay. And does it then, I mean, obviously there's a secondary market from that point, but like, does minting kind of like hold like a little extra cachet in this space, or is it just kind of a word I see on the internet a lot?
It's a word you see on the internet. Some projects will decide to benefit their mint holders compared to a secondary sale holder, but you don't see that happening as often, because then why do you want to deter someone from buying into the project if they
Exactly.
weren't the first one to buy? So
Yeah. All right.
it's just a nomenclature name that's sort of thrown around. My dad asked me about literally the exact same thing. He's like, so I bought this, I minted it. I'm like, no, you bought it. He goes, but then why? Everyone told me I minted it. I'm like, no, it's not that. It's just
So
not.
if
Yeah.
you buy it from the source, you are minting it. If you are
Yes.
buying it on the secondary market, you're just buying it.
Exactly.
Okay. Where are these markets? How do I go to the source? And where can I then resell these potential products?
Yeah. So right now there's like 4 or 5 main marketplaces. There's OpenSea, Magic Eden. OpenSea is, I guess now it's Solana and Ethereum. It used to only be Ethereum NFTs. Now both of the blockchains are on there. There's Magic Eden, which is only Solana. There's LooksRare, which is a unique marketplace that offers sort of rewards back if you sell on their marketplace. And then there's anything Dapper, which is Guy Marketplace, or NFL All Day specifically, or the Top Shot website specifically. Dapper usually creates specific for the website. For ours, and that's where we get unique as well, is we're developing our entirely own marketplace and secondary marketplace. So when you either want to go create your own card, that's on our website. If you want to purchase one of our athletes cards, that's done there, as well as that secondary sale. The reason for that is to give the athlete and the fan a centralized location to go, rather than saying, hey, come to DPC-NFT to buy the NFT. Oh, and then go connect your wallet to OpenSea to go to our account page to then sell it. We wanted it to be as seamless and easy as possible. And another reason why is, I don't know if you saw what happened with De'Aaron Fox's project. It was extremely unfortunate. His developers essentially left him after he sold 10,000 NFTs to a community, or around 8,000 of the 10,000. And then essentially he had to give up on the project because he had no developers to continue the management of the NFTs,
Mhm.
of the smart contracts behind it, and the continued development. He ended up getting sued for the project, completely separate. He had to drop any promise things he couldn't give. Why is that important to what we're doing? Because when you went on OpenSea to search his project, if you typed in De'Aaron Fox, you couldn't find the project. If you typed in Sacramento Kings, couldn't find the project. And to me, that was honestly disturbing, Because if you're going to welcome someone into the space to say, hey, sell a project for yourself, how do you not give them the ability to be searched
Mhm.
simply off their name? And so what we've done is in our secondary marketplace that'll be launching end of May. Hopefully my team doesn't kill me on that timeline. Um, End of May, you'll be able to search an athlete's project based off of their name, their school, their either their high school, either their college or their professional team, the sport they play, or the position they play. And that why is that important? Because if athletes are going to feel welcomed into the space, like, hey, I'm not going to fail in my project, they need to feel like there's a marketplace that is assisting them in doing that. And there was no one out there doing that.
That's awesome. That definitely makes sense, kinda create that ecosystem completely for you guys. That way you can help in all shapes and forms. You guys can assist wherever needed to be assisted. Yeah, it sounds like De'Aaron Fox, that's not a great thing. I think he signed like a $170 million contract. So like I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy, but I feel bad for somebody else. I
Well,
feel worse for somebody else. Let's say that.
Well, you do. You feel bad because, essentially someone's buying into a project like that saying, "Oh, scholarships are guaranteed, all of this." And then
Hmm.
because he doesn't have the time or help for it, he has to drop it. And so that's where for us, we're not telling fans, "Hey, you're buying into an infinitive engagement with the athlete or something like that." It's potential at three pieces of memorabilia and maybe a FaceTime. It's nothing that's sort of like these other communities you're seeing be built out there with crazy promises.
So I want to get to the promises aspect of it because I understand, right? Like with Top Shot, like the thing that didn't make any sense to me was just buying this GIF. And like I'm being a little facetious about it. It's always fun to poke the bear. But like, what are these? Because now, again, I follow Gary Vee. Who doesn't at this point, right? He talks about the contract aspect of it. I hear other interviews. I talk to other people, and it's really, yeah, the picture's cool, the video's cool. Owning the IP in certain situations is incredible, but it's really the contract behind it. It's what else you get. What are some of these other? You said smart contract. What are some of these promises? Explain that aspect of it to me again, as dumb as possible, just so that people can understand. Like, hey, it's not just this picture on your phone. There's actually legitimacy and other things behind it as well.
Yeah. So essentially, what the smart contract does is it gives a unique signature as to who owns that specific JPEG picture, video, whatever it be. Um, what that contract does, everyone talks about all these utilities, perks, things that are attached to the contract. There's nothing actually attached to the contract. What the contract does is it gives us the verification services to say we have the ability to 100% verify this is the person that owns and says they own the NFT. So, what it does is we can then, per se, attach to the contract opportunities, perks, utilities. So, for one of our athletes, Sam Singer. He's a former California Bears starting point guard, played in Israel for 2 years. He's now a real estate agent here in Miami and trains kids. The utility, that perk he's going to offer will be training sessions. So parents
Awesome.
are incentivized to purchase his NFT because not only will the kids that he trains with get a cool digital asset of him, they also get a training session with him. So when they say something attaches to the contract, it's whatever the company, the project, the athlete decides. And so for us, we work with the athlete to give them the sort of opportunity to say, hey, this is what I want to do. And then we'll tell them, okay, if this is what you want to do, this is where we think you can price it. This is how many we think we should sell. And let's go from there. We never tell an athlete what they should give to their fans. We want the athlete to be incentivized to feel involved with the project because it's theirs. It's not, we're just a company assisting them in selling. It's like them selling a t-shirt brand for themselves. We're just assisting in that.
That's awesome. I think again, the utilities, the perks that come with it are the interesting part to me. I think that's the cool part. So now, just for edification's sake, so Sam sells this NFT to somebody, it becomes minted, and then he has a training session with person X, and then person X sells it to person Y. Does person Y get a training set? Like, how does then like the extension of this contract move down the line?
So that's that unique feature of the contract, and I guess that's sort of what you find. Someone actually posted a really unique tweet that said, "I bought a board ape for 195 ETH when the floor was 142 ETH." Because when I looked up the back end contract, someone didn't collect 67 ETH worth of ape, the coin. So because someone didn't collect the coin that was built into the backend smart contract, this person knew they if they bought an NFT that was more expensive, they'd get that extra perk attached to the contract. So that's what we say, that's what we talked about. How do you attach something to these smart contracts? It's exactly that way. The same way, Bored Ape released the coin and released it to all of their smart contracts. Some people didn't, for some reason, some people didn't collect their coin. And if you went and bought an NFT, you could see which ones didn't collect the coins or not. So an NFT that was valued at, for sale at 195 ETH is really worth more than purchasing one on the floor for 142 with no extra to no nothing to the contract. So
Hmm.
how does that relay here? Is if someone buys Sam's utility and utilizes that training session, it's taken up for him. But Sam can say, "Hey, I want to. Hey, community, I went to Cal. I played with Jalen Brown. Jalen's in town to Miami. We're going to do a dinner tonight. Let's someone who owns my card will get to come with us." He can then add in his own
Hmm.
opportunities, utilities, because it's his opportunity to say, "These are my communities. This is what I want to take advantage of." But DPC as a company will do certain gamifications, whether it be putting the athletes into a team themselves of 5 athletes and saying, if you collect all these athletes, you'll get a piece of memorabilia from us, or you'll get to come to our massive DPC weekend, which will be a weekend sort of retreat with our big athletes and a gala dinner and golf tournament and things like that.
That's awesome.
So
That's
yeah,
really
so
fun.
yeah, there's ways to gamify it, just kind of have fun with it and assist these athletes. Because at the end of the day, if a golfer says, "Hey, I want to sell 25 cards," you got to expect they'll probably sell 10.
Hmm.
And so, how can we assist them in selling that extra 15? And it's through things like saying, "Hey, let's put you into a team with you and 2 star players from university. And if someone collects all 3 of your cards, they'll get another piece of memorabilia from us as a company."
That's really cool. Yeah, that just makes it way more fun than like owning trading cards, right? Like there's just so much extra stuff that can go with it. Um, that just makes it just I don't know. That sounds like a blast, right? Like you find the 3 golfers. Oh, and then you'll be the one that finishes out the foursome, and you guys can go play some round and wherever their hometown is, right? Like it's just fun things like that that really kind of can get the juices up a little bit to allow just more opportunity for the athletes, but as well as that community because that's really what we're here to do, right? You're not yet working with the LeBron Jameses of the world, unless there's some back information that I'm unaware of. But it's allowing these,
A little bit.
yeah.
It'll be released in the next like month or two, but there's some big time high school athletes uh,
Let me know. We'll get you
that
on
will
the
be
show again.
releasing cards
We'll
soon.
just get you on the show again. How does that sound, Daniel? But
That works.
it's just there's just this opportunity again to create that engagement. So I'm kind of curious from your standpoint, right? So you saw this come around. You're working as a lawyer or a clerk or whatever. Your dad's industrial whatever business. I apologize that
All good, all good.
already over it. But like, how do you create a company like this? Like, how do you say like, oh, this would be fun to do? Like, where do you even start? How do you even like, hey, I get the concept. I want to do this, but like, how do you actually put those wheels in motion to get that plane rolling?
Yeah, it was. We're talking. I mean, I'd say still early because we're talking about a year and a half ago. So it still was early in the sense of like companies having the developers, locked down and who
Hmm.
was needed to build. And I frankly got really lucky. I happened to get connected with a developer who built like the first Bitcoin wallet in Venezuela before it got
Oh,
shut down and happened to be a lead developer for another protocol. I got very lucky in finding someone that knew how to build with the necessary code in the space. And then I just slowly formed the team around. We're about to announce a massive partnership in the next week or two. That'll sort of be the final piece to the
so is that
team.
two massive partnerships potentially in the next like 2 months?
Yeah. Well, what one will be for card sales, the other will be as like a full partner with us in what we're doing here, and it'll
Love to see it.
be, yeah, it'll be we. So it was all about the right pieces. It was knowing, okay, I have the business mind behind what I want to do here, but how do I bring the right pieces around me? I brought a good friend of mine from college in. that really helped with sort of the beginning stages of getting this off the ground. And then I brought two friends from here in Miami, where I'm located, grew up with them. That one was just very involved in just the startup world for years, and then the other one is very involved in the athlete sports world. Both played, both former collegiate athletes. So when I was forming the team, it was just how do I bring the right guys together to be trusted in the space? You know, I can bring the product, but how do I truly be trusted in the athlete world? And so now it's forming the right team, the right advisors, the right partners, so that when we go to market with this to the athletes, we're not just a random brand out there. We're trusted because, especially in Web3, it's really easy to get what they call rug pulled. You know, people can screw you over really easily in the athlete world, and in the Web3 world, it's just as bad, if not worse. And so it was, how do I create a company that is envisioned around the athlete for the athlete, may not be by an athlete directly that played in college, but you know, by all means, I played my entire life. To me, I was still an athlete at some point, and so finding a way to help them. And so it was really getting sort of lucky that I found someone to build what I needed. Like
Yeah.
I got lucky, frankly, that I'm having someone build a marketplace and secondary marketplace, the same thing that you're seeing these massive companies have. Um, a little bit of luck, and then a little bit of just, you know, perseverance, pushing. Um, you have
I'll
your
I'll
ups and down battles. Yeah,
I'll
you
push
have your
back
ups
on
and
that.
down
So
battles.
we don't actually believe in luck on this show. I believe in doing a lot of hard work and putting yourself in the right place at the right time. Because luck is right. Everyone considers luck like this, like, oh, you can get lucky. It's like, well, I can get high on my couch, and I'm probably not going to get as lucky as if I was out interviewing or networking or
Yeah,
talking to people. So I personally don't subscribe to luck, and I'm sure you did a significant amount of work to get lucky, in your opinion, using air quotes for anyone listening. But I think it's just really important that the opportunities, all the stars aligned, right? But they aligned for a reason. You clearly had this vision. You brought in people that understood the vision and could see how it could benefit the people of their lives, or the people that they've known in their lives, and saying, hey, like, yeah, I can 100% bring these, if we get the correct pieces. It's like, some Voltron shit, right? Like, it's bringing all these pieces together to be able to destroy whatever is in front of you. And it sounds like, again, like, you're able to do that. You're able to find those right pieces. And I think it's interesting, right? You say it's early in the timeline. It's a year and a half ago where you started. I feel like I didn't even start hearing the term Web3. I don't know. Probably, it really popped in the last 6 months. You tell me, you're a little deeper into it, but me just kind of being a layman on the internet, didn't hear the first time of Web3 until sometime in 2021. And it really was probably just Gary V, right? So it's one of those things where you've been working in the back end, you've been working in the lab. Thank you.
there
Thank
you
you.
go. There you go.
Stand-up routine's coming, don't worry. But you've been working legitimately in the lab for a year and a half to put this thing together. So it might seem like it just popped out of nowhere, but in reality, you guys have been doing everything necessary in the back end for a year and a half to get this ready, to have your own marketplace, secondary marketplace, to put these things together. I think it's absolutely incredible, man. Kudos and
I,
congratulations.
I appreciate that, and hearing you say it is true. Like I remember it was like 3 weeks ago we had our first live beta version go up, and it was just one of those realizations that was like, holy shit, we you
This
know
is
we have
cool.
we have an MVP, like we have a product, we have something in the space that just not everyone can say they do. Like you can say and idealize building a project, building a concept, building something in Web3, and right now, frankly, there are a lot of people raising money saying they're building something, but to build it before even raising that money, like we took a very small family and friends rounds to let very close friends and family have the opportunity at an investment like this early on, like extremely early, because we wanted them to have that, opportunity. And now we're raising our round. And the reason for that was building a company the right way. It wasn't about saying we have this idea in Web3 and it can get us all of this money at this crazy valuation because that's what we're seeing out there. It was building the infrastructure and then going to market and saying, this is the product we have, this is why we have it, and this is why we believe in it, not because it's an idea that's going to get us somewhere, but because it's a proven product. To that, to the youth market and what we talk about with NFTs, how cool would it have been? I don't know about you, but I went at my high school, there were a few guys that ended up playing college. One of them was Trey Morning, Alonzo Mourning's son. I had my best friend Sam. Then we had Ashley Johnson, who was a two-time Olympic gold medalist
Yeah,
water
water
polo
polo,
athlete.
100%.
Yeah. So went to high school with Ashley, and Imagine if while they were in high school, they said, "Hey, this website's creating player cards of me. If you want to own one for the same, price that I have one of myself, you can go buy one of me. You can't sell it, nothing. But imagine if in high school you knew there were those athletes that were going to be special, and you could purchase their card the same, just because you're their close friend, you get their, promo code to purchase their card because you're in their close friend group, and now you have an asset of your close friend who, granted, could be something, or it's just something cool to own. And so for us, it's not only opening it up to say, hey, yeah, create your own card, but it's saying own your friend's card. It's like, whoever, but the only way to do that is verification. It's saying, hey, if they're a big time athlete and people are wanting to purchase their card, there's a promo code that the athlete is specific to have to their name, that only someone can create the card if it's for that, if it's specifically under that athlete's code. Why? You want to protect the athlete's brand and name, to not just flood the market with something because people want it. But it's about that early adoption into Web3 through a collectible, through a souvenir, not as sort of what's the floor price, which is, that bottom price. What's, how do I buy something at $100 and have it be worth 100,000 the next day? Because that's what Bored Ape and Moonbirds and all these projects have done. And that's, it bothers me because it gives the bad name on NFTs. Like, if someone buys an NFT and it doesn't happen for them that way, they don't want to buy an NFT ever again. They're, why did I just do this? It's the worst investment I've ever made. But the importance of Web3 and NFTs is not the investment side of it. It's the IP side of it. And it's understanding that it could be, yeah, we're doing digital player cards, but imagine owning your kid's first moment walking and being able to have that memorialized in a video forever, not just on your phone and your, phone that you're scrolling through, but on the internet, verified that that that's that moment. It's just little things that can be turned into memorialized moments that NFTs can provide that value for. And then also, I don't have to worry about my iCloud getting lost anytime or losing my password or anything. There's a blockchain scan that always will have that forever. So there's a souvenir collectible side that, like, for me also, it was, growing up, I didn't make the basketball team my 8th grade year. And I just, while creating this idea, I thought to myself, how unique would it be if I owned a card from my 6th grade year when I hit a game winning shot with that, video attached to it, for my self esteem, that boost to say, yeah, you may not have made it this year, but this is who you are. This was, something you did. And so it was being able to provide something that also could give a self esteem boost to kids, and not, to feel like, yeah, you're a star. You might not, who cares if that coach didn't tell you were a star, or if that person on the other team says you suck. You have your own unique, asset that makes you feel like a star.
Yeah, I think it's just so fun, right? Like, it's just so enjoyable. And we're here about 40 minutes in. I pretty much tell every guest, so the listeners out there know this, but like, my favorite thing is to listen to somebody who's extremely passionate about something. I don't care what they're talking about. I've chose the lane of sports, and obviously there's a lot of different places. So I appreciate your passion when it comes through, and understanding that, hey, like, I hope this makes you millions of dollars, dude. Like, I really do,
Thank you.
because it's such a cool idea. But the fact that you went about it the right way, you're looking out for people that need to be, not need to, but should be looked out for in some way, shape, or form, and giving these opportunities to people that, you know, 2 years ago, right? Pre NIL had literally nothing. And now there's so many opportunities. And this is just one lane that they can potentially go down that allows them to take advantage of themselves, obviously, in the name, image, and likeness, but also potentially make a couple bucks along the way. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm 100%
No,
for it. So appreciate what you're doing, man.
they should be able to. I mean, it's
100%.
finally.
Yeah,
So, and I
exactly. Finally.
appreciate that.
No, man. Hey, keep doing your thing. So, probably a couple more questions, but one, how do I make an NFT? Like, how do you actually like make it? Like, I've never really gotten that aspect of it. Like, someone sends you a video, right? And they say NFT this. What happens? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so there's a few different sort of websites that can assist you in that. I'd say the easiest one is OpenSea. You can go onto OpenSea, you can upload the photo, video, whatever it might be, and you can essentially, there's sort of two options. You can either pay to create a certain amount and they'll sort of take a portion of the sales to save you those upfront gas fees, or you can pay all that upfront cost and just mint it right there. So you can it's sort of your option. You can either pay the upfront fees to mint it, or you can leave it up to someone to buy your NFT and pay those upfront costs. But essentially, OpenSea has the easiest platform. Now, that's something that we've done and created, is that if you wanted to create an NFT, um, let's say it's a sports centric project, you can work with us to host that on our marketplace. And we have the ability to essentially give you an easy, just send the art or whatever it is to us, and we publish it on our back end. So um, that'll be up more, more of Q4 for us, but eventually someone will be able to do that with us too, if it's in the sports realm or field where they won't have to. And for us, it's on Solana. I didn't mention that. That's a big thing for us is, Ethereum, you can have something called gas fees, which is essentially like a transaction fee. And honestly, I've seen those get up to like literally $3,000 before. I've seen someone spend $3,000 on an asset that costs $500 because they think the intrinsic value of it long term is going to be something. And for us, that I couldn't fathom that. And especially if you're going to be working with underprivileged kids, if a school system says, "Hey, we'll subsidize for someone to create a card," how are you going to go tell the kid, "Okay, great, they just subsidized for you to pay for it, but now you got to pay another $20, not to us, but to just a random gas fees to create it." With Solana, there are no fees. It's cents on the dollar. So we can really help adopt and integrate a lot more people into the NFT space because of that.
That's awesome.
I went on a little tangent there. Sorry.
No, you're good. I think that's important. I don't understand how any of this stuff works. So like there's no zero cost.
And wallets. That's important.
Let's do
okay.
it. Talk to me about my wallet.
First thing you have to do is you got to download a wallet. The nice thing is Apple and Android phones, you can do it on your phone. Download either MetaMask or Phantom. If for us, download Phantom because that is the wallet for Solana. And the nice thing is with both apps, if MetaMask, they have the ability to use Apple Pay or MoonPay, which is either your own debit card or credit card. And with Phantom Wallet, you can use it. You can purchase Solana with a credit card. So essentially, you download your wallet. It'll give you a private key. Write that private key down. Do not take a photo of it. Do not screenshot it. Do not text it. Write it down. Put that in a safe place, because if anybody has that private key, it's 12 words, they can get into your wallet. It bypasses your password. It's if you ever forget your password, that's how you recover your wallet. So that 12 key phrase is probably the most important thing to teach about security of creating the wallet. Put that away, write it down, save it, don't lose it. Once you have that wallet created, like I said, you can, with a credit card, debit card, purchase through MoonPay on Solana. On the Phantom wallet, you'll have the Solana right there in your wallet. What you do, because with our marketplace, you go onto our website, dpc-nft.com. You'll be able to connect your wallet right there, and you can either purchase one of the athletes' cards that are for sale right now in the marketplace, or you can go to create your own card, and you can essentially plug in your information, upload a photo of yourself, and we will then on our back end download that photo and create the actual card and then send it back. For that, it's 0.55 Sol. We have it up there $75. That'll fluctuate. You can get lucky if Sol drops to $80. You got a discount on your DPC card for the day. If Sol goes up, it's a little more expensive. That's just kind of the unique space. One Sol is always going to be one Sol. One ETH is always one ETH. It's sort of a unique thing in the space.
Yes, but the dollars that they equal might be a little different. But once they get into that space, then hey, then you're working on that currency. So
exactly, it's once you buy. It's really just buying your first Bitcoin, your first piece of Solana, your first piece of Ethereum. It's just even if it's $5, $10, it's just having something. And for us, our lowest card of an athlete to buy is 40 cards. Your lowest card to purchase for yourself is $45. Why? Because we want it to be low cost. It's not about, let's have it be $500 because we want to sell for the most money. It's how do you adopt people in? So there's different tiers of cards for the athletes we sell. The bottom tier is less money than the top tier, and sort of giving everyone the ability to enter in the space.
I think I want to make a card of me and my podcast, so we'll work on that later.
That'll be fun. That'll be pretty fun. Look into, I think his name's Buster. You've probably heard about him.
Oh, Buster,
he sells,
not kid, but yeah.
He sells an NFT. Yes, he sells an NFT for his podcast with like utilities and things.
That's
and
awesome.
it's actually like 15 times in price recently.
Good for him.
Really unique. Yeah, really
He
unique.
has a little bit bigger audience than I do, but I'll get there
Well,
one day.
listen, one, you'll get there, and two, it's just the unique aspect of how people in the podcast world are looking at NFTs or finding ways that to say, listen, it's not, you don't just have to be an athlete. You don't just have to be an artist. You don't just have to be a, random bear that's being put on a JPEG. You can be someone with a podcast. You can be someone with a media company and just say, hey, I'm selling an NFT. Like there's certain athletes that are selling NFTs to be access to them now. Like they're businessmen and they are being contacted daily by people in their inner circle. Owning one of their NFTs gets you an hour a week with him business service wise. It's just different ways. And then someone can go and sell that if they don't want to utilize that business hour anymore. It's ways for other people, for that athlete to be able to manage their time, um, monetize on their time, but also have a sort of fun with it. They could randomly say, hey, all 20 holders are going to play golf with me for the day and we're going to do this. Or, whatever they want to do, it sort of at their leisure to sort of decide and do.
That's so much fun. I love this. I'm very excited. Thank you for explaining all this in very easy terms for me. Cause yeah, 100% gonna figure out how to get my own podcast NFT. That's hilarious. Last question before we kind of get to like the socials and all that BS. One thing, again, really only follow Gary Vee at this point with a lot of this stuff. Don't get too deep on it, but he always says 99% of these projects are all going to fail. 99% are all going to suck. 99% are going to absolutely do nothing. Why? And we kind of went over it in the last 45 minutes, but why would you say you guys are in that 1% that's actually going to succeed?
So a few reasons. One, we built actual infrastructure. So I built an actual secondary marketplace to host all of this, not just create it and host it somewhere else. I think that there's intrinsic value to the infrastructure we've built. So I think
That
that's one.
does that make it more difficult for people to find though? Like, do they have to download something different and go through something different, or they're used to OpenSeas, so why not just continue to use that?
Yeah, and now that OpenSea, the only difference is instead of going to OpenSea, you go to dpc-nft.com. There's no difference. If you're buying a Solana NFT, you already have your Phantom wallet.
Okay.
And now that OpenSea's integrated Solana, and most actually they just came out with numbers. I think like 60 million people have downloaded a Phantom wallet in the last like since the beginning of the year. It's some crazy number.
Mhm.
Um, but the adoption, and they went mobile. So the adoption to create a wallet on your phone, literally buy crypto right there on your phone, and then go and purchase the NFT in their browser if you want to. You don't even have to go to your computer. You can go Phantom browser, type in the website, and do it all there on your phone, which I've done. It's kind of crazy. That's the craziest thing is where we've gone in the spaces. So one, the infrastructure. We built infrastructure. Two, I think that we're not a project. We're a long-term vision for the sports world. It's not sort of a quick one-off, hey, we're selling a cool art piece and this is what we promise it's going to get you access to. We're more selling access to yourself, that self-esteem boost of yourself, that owning that asset of yourself. And so I think that when you are convincing parents and kids to want to own their own asset of themselves, I don't think you're competing with the likes of a community trying to grow a project that is current 24/7 engaged. I think we're looking at a different just entrance, and it's just a different project. It's sort of
Mhm.
it's more of a collectible souvenir than sort of a project that you see in the space.
I love it, man. Well, I'm rooting for you, dude. I think it's so cool. Just the opportunity, the big partnerships that are going to come, the even bigger partnerships I'm sure that are down the line.
I
It
appreciate that.
sounds like you guys are going to continue to crush it. So yeah, we'll work on the back end on getting me my own NFT and how the hell I do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. But I know we've said it a couple times. Give us the socials, give us the website. I'll put everything in the show notes for everybody who isn't watching live. They'll be in the show notes for on YouTube as well as for the podcast feed. So give us all that stuff, but just in case it'll be down there as well.
Yeah. So my social is Twitter is Daniel Pardo 25. My Instagram is Daniel Pardo 525. Our DPC Twitter is DPC underscore NFT. And then our DPC Instagram is DPC NFT. Our website is www.dpc-nft.com. And that's where you'll be able to find everything in terms of creating your own card and or purchasing one of the athletes up there. If you are an athlete that wants to get in touch about having a card sold for you, My email is dpardo@dpc-nft.com. Feel free to reach out if you are a high school coach, a middle school coach, AAU for any sport, whatever it might be. If you want to create cards for your team, reach out, dpardo@dpc-nft.com.
I love it, man. There might be a couple people I can introduce you to. This sounds like a lot of fun. So sincerely,
Absolutely.
Daniel, everybody listening, time's the only thing we don't get more of. So I appreciate each and every one of you giving me a little bit of that. But this is going to be great, man. Again, check the show notes for all that information. Sincerely appreciate it. 5-star review, like, and subscribe. You know how it works. Sincerely. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.